in this episode.
So, masturbation, it's our first love, isn't it? But still, that I'm the only person that you know on Instagram talking about sex, that already shows me that there is still so much lacking in this area. And the role models that the younger generations get now, it's TikTok. The fact that my husband and I, we've been together for 15 years now.
Wow.
We are our, and that's a lot of work. Everybody has the perfect measurements. Everybody is wet. I say this in my TED talk as well. You know, everybody's wet. Everybody orgasms. Everything is amazing. And it's not anymore. So I think there's just too much shame of all the movies where the 16-year-old boy is masturbating in his room and his parents catch him, and it is like the world ending. All these things, oh my goodness, like orgasm is not the goal. Please, can we stop making it the goal? And please, can we just have some fun? So yeah, no, orgasm is not the goal.
We were super excited to have a podcast with you. I mean, I watched your TED talk and I was very, very astonished by your transformation, rediscovering yourself. So I was super excited to hear from you, your insights, your advice, recommendation, like everything.
Thank you. I think it works really well. Wellness in chaos, even the title, I already thought, I mean, that's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and there are, exactly. And there are so many aspects of that feed into it. So why should sexuality not be classified as wellness? And it isn't too often.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, for us, wellness, it's everything that is related to your health and well-being. So sex is a huge topic.
Huge
like
part.
one of the most important topics, despite maybe some people still try to make it as a taboo, and like for some people it's not comfortable to talk about that. Yeah, and honestly for us it's the first podcast episode when we talk about sex.
Oh, I will ease you in slowly, don't worry. I can be very gentle.
My cheeks are getting red right now.
Yeah, that's okay.
Why did I wear today?
You know, that's totally okay. I think I'll be 40 this year, and I grew up very liberal and very comfortable talking about things. I think sexuality in general, if everything's going great, people struggle to talk about it. And then when it's going badly, well, then it's just non-existent. So for me, I started anonymously, and I quickly realized how important it was to give the whole thing a face and to really just say, guys, girls, people, these things happen. If we don't talk about it, nothing changes. If nothing changes, let's stop the taboos. Let's just stop.
Yeah.
So,
Lisa, could you make a short introduction? Who are you and why your work is important? And then we'll go fast to all the juiciest topics ever.
Sure, I'd love to. Proper monologue style.
Huge congrats on your TED Talk.
Thank you very, very much. I'm very, very excited to be on your podcast. I'm Lisa Opel. And like you said, I just had a TED Talk about losing lust and rediscovering sex. And the past 4 or 5 years, this topic has become even more present in my life. Something I never really considered would happen because I used to be a very kinky, sexy thing. And then I became a mum. And it's that famous song, Don't It Always Seem to Go, that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And it was exactly that. And it's been a journey, let me say, with its ups and downs. And sexuality, it evolves all the time through all sorts of phases, whether you're single or whether you have a partner or more. And for me, these past 5 years have shown how important it is to talk about it, especially if it's not going well, and how important it is to shine a light on our sexuality as a holistic aspect of our wellness, our health, our happiness, and not to wait until it's too late, because that's the story of my life.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And like when I saw you the first time ever, it was on the BBA event. I saw your pink jacket. I was like, oh my God, I adore you already. Yes, the girl who was staying next to me, she said the same. She said, "Oh my God, she is so cool. She is so bright." And then it was exactly the energy you share online. That it's such a powerful energy of sexuality and being wild, being funny, being bright, despite all this grayness, boringness that covers the lives of many people. You're doing an amazing job. And there are not so many people like you. Like, literally, you're the first sex expert whom I know. Yeah, and I'm so excited to talk with you today.
Thank you. Thank you. And I guess my Instagram does reflect that. On the other side, we all know that Instagram always shows the nice parts of life.
Yeah.
And frankly, though, in my work, I speak about those not so good times in my life. So in my TED talk, I really get into what it means for a relationship and what it meant to me it sounds like I should have put an air tag on it, like to lose my sexuality and to not know where I want to go. So sometimes I fake it to make it, and I wear bright clothes just to carry myself forwards. And I suppose there are just so many aspects of our sexuality that play into this feeling vibrant and feeling wild, and not just women, but tapping into this sexual energy that we can all have and that helps us thrive, and that's in the pit of our stomachs, and it's intuition, and it's what makes life feel magic. It's the butterflies, it's the goosebumps, it's all these wonderful things that we often neglect in the everyday routine and monotone to-dos and the lists and the mental workload. And whilst, of course, on my Instagram, I keep it light, Instagram isn't my platform of choice because I could never express all the hardship and the loneliness and the solitude that I've gone through the past 5 years, rediscovering my sexuality and navigating, honestly, really freaking choppy waters in my relationship. And so I do a lot more of that with things like this, with podcasts, and through my work writing erotic literature with just a bucket full of realism. But
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute as well. So thank you for the compliment. But I have to say, behind every smiley face is a massive story. And I think that's what you do in your podcast as well, that wellness is just so much more than, dressing well or putting on red lipstick. There is so much more underneath that moves us to feel and behave as a shiny version of ourselves.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely right. Wellness is also about grief, about losing something or someone. Yeah. And Lisa, your story on TED Talk began about your journey on a Christmas Eve that changed everything in your life. To our listeners who didn't have a chance yet, but later to listen to your story, can you share more about the emotions of that night and how it moved you towards rediscovering yourself?
Absolutely. I don't think it's necessarily pinned to the fact that my husband and we've been together for 15 years now. We are
Wow.
our, yeah, yeah. And that's a lot of work. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't think that evening, that fateful evening, is really pinned to us being together. I think many people can relate to what it feels like going through heartbreak, sadness, difficult times, and having to evolve. It's our personalities we develop as people. And for us, for me, that evening, my husband said to me that he was broken. He didn't know what to do anymore. We'd just been through such difficult times and we'd lost touch with each other. We'd lost our connection. And when he said that, I realized, oof, there is work to be done if we want to move forward. And so that was kind of the alarm bell ringing for me. And it's something I think we go through. Or let me start again. I think in pop media, in films, like I said on Instagram, all the smiley faces, all we ever see is the beautiful times. And nobody prepares us. Nobody prepares us how to be in relationships. You know, I have two small children now. We talk about conflict. We talk about
Yeah.
how to do things that make us feel good, how to put ourselves first. I'm going to be 40 this year. I grew up a chronic people pleaser. It was always everybody else before me. And so I teach my daughter, you come first, because if you're broken, you can't help anybody else. It's the German, if you're kaputt. And that's what she literally says, which is kind of cute. So I think we can all relate to this idea of having to start anew. And particularly as a woman, there's so much work to be done there. There's so much that we have to learn and so much we maybe need to heal from. And I think I sidetracked a second ago, but that evening for me was, I've not been taught how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't prepared. I wasn't shown how to lead a healthy relationship. I wasn't taught how to take care of myself. I never learned what a work-life balance is. I don't know how to put myself first. And I think we are generations that are coming after us now. I see that that's become more of a focus. And so the idea of wellness, whether it's sexual, whether it's health, whether it's work-life balance, all these aspects, everybody struggles with at one point, sooner or later. And whilst I adore that, everything from health and keeping fit and nutrition and being outside and social media detoxes, I love that all that is gaining so much coverage, but still that I'm the only person that you know on Instagram talking about sex. That already shows me that there is still so much lacking in this area. And
Yeah.
the role models that the younger generations get now, it's TikTok. And I've been on TikTok, and what people are saying about sexuality honestly makes me want to delete the app instantly. And that's not what I wish for my children when they grow up. And they certainly won't be learning what goes on there. And so there is still so much work to be done, because all we know about sex is what we see on TV and what we see in porn. And even though that industry is moving beautifully in great directions and there's so much happening, we're still at the absolute beginning. And we need lots more people like you, like me, talking about it and saying, guys, no, here's a warning, right? This woman is
Yeah.
40. You don't want to go through what she went through. Here's the little ding dong. You're getting it in a soft way now, and not the way the bells rang for me, which was literally with a bell wrapped around my head and someone banging it hard. So of course, I went through a hard time. Our family went through a hard time. My husband went through an incredibly hard time, and I'm the luckiest woman in the world that he stayed by me. But I wouldn't wish it
He's the
upon my
luckiest
worst
one.
enemy.
Or
Yeah.
he's
Ah, we're We work
Yeah.
hard every day. It's it's ups and downs, and as long as we are aware of these ups and downs in our relationships and the communication stays, and even sexuality. I mean, the idea people have of sex nowadays, ugh, I like even the word, it bugs me. In my TED talk, I talk about intimacy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
sensuality, experimentation, like sex. When asking people what is sex to you, they'll say, well, it's foreplay and then it's penetration, like if it's heterosexual, and then it's orgasm. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Mm.
wow, well, that's like a 3-course meal. Like if I go to a buffet,
Yeah.
I'm having at least 8 courses. Are you kidding me? I might even have dessert before I have my starter. So like there is just so much to be had there that people have no idea about. And we had to rediscover that as well, because your sexuality changes, heads up, as well. What you once liked when you were 20, you might not like when you're 30. So,
Yeah. And Lisa,
Like
if you
we
had
are
it,
going to 30 very fast.
sorry.
We, like Dmitro and me, we are going to 30 fast.
Ah, okay.
yeah, yes, it's crazy. It's crazy
It's
how
crazy.
time goes fast. Lisa, if you had the chance to change or adjust educational system, would you add the topic of relationship sexuality to school system, and how would you
Oh,
present it to kids?
100%, 150% add taxes and how to maintain your household to that as well. So, how to iron, how to cook, how to go shopping, how to do your washing, sort your whites from your colors, from your darks. I would add all of that, because we say to our children as well, if you want to be a doctor, go after those good grades, but otherwise, learn how to live a happy life. Like, I don't
Yeah,
care what grades you bring home. Make sure you know what to do if you're having problems in your relationship. Make sure you know how to take care of yourself if you're going through a difficult time. Know how to communicate in a partnership if something is not going the way you'd like it to go, or how to reach out to friends, or don't be afraid to get help. Find a therapist, find somebody to guide you through. There's so much shame around all these topics. And, my children know vulva from vagina. My
Mhm.
children have looked at themselves. My children, they are raised to understand that sex is not about birds and bees, which honestly I don't understand anyway, because my 6-year-old will say to me, but bees go to pollen. And then, like, I don't, how is this and what? And nobody, do you know how birds have sex? I don't. It freaks me out, honestly. So my children know how babies are realistically made, but my children will also learn that sex is something beautiful, that sex is something wonderful. And the children that won't learn this, they're going to struggle further down the line. So, one way or another, education needs to be made accessible,
Mhm.
because otherwise, where will they turn to? They will turn to TikTok and they will turn to porn. And
yeah,
what are they teaching on there? It's unbelievable. So, I don't know which generations. Hopefully, my children will be the generation that breaks that spell. But otherwise, oof, I don't know. I don't know where it's going.
it's crazy.
Lisa,
It's like
uh,
fake distorted law.
and you said that porn industry is changing right now. I'm not a fan of porn, and I almost have never seen porn in my life. Just didn't have a need to watch that. But how it's going on now? Is it going better?
So, when I say porn, beautifully nowadays, you can actually talk about more than just visual porn. So, nowadays we have
Mm.
audio porn, we have audio stories, which is a wonderful way to escape our mental load, to just get out, just think about something different. Then there is written porn, which is what I do. So erotica has existed since Marquis de Sade, Erica de Jong. There are so many out there. And I'm breaking the mold because I talk about things like menstruation, sex, and orgasm difficulties, and a postpartum mum who is leaking from her boobs while having sex because, oh my God, that is the reality of sex, and giggling and making funny noises and queefs. And, when we talk about porn nowadays, I think the majority of us still have sort of Hugh Hefner's Playboy. Everybody has the perfect measurements. Everybody is wet. I say this in my TED talk as well. Everybody's wet. Everybody orgasms. Everything is amazing. And it's not anymore. So we have women directors. So many. It's popping up like crazy at the moment. So we have women directing porn, which just gives it a whole new twist. It's from a female perspective. We have, thank goodness, through all the new labels that have been created. And while I'm the first to say I despise labels, I realize the importance. It's about finding where you belong. It's finding information where you need it. So through the diversity that we have nowadays, we have more varied porn. We have trans women. We have all sorts of beautiful, where at the end of the day, it's just bodies and connection and sensuality. And we have a more diverse range of kinks being brought into the scene, fetishes, and it's not as tainted as it used to be. So the whole scene is changing. And a lot of the companies who are making these new kind of pornos in a visual sense, they provide education simultaneously. So there are platforms that provide education, they provide edutainment. So they are literally talking about masturbation, and you will have somebody showing you. It's like a show and tell. So
Wow.
the education needs to be there because unfortunately urologists are still having too many people entering their offices with things that they've entered into their bodies that they shouldn't have entered into their bodies. Trust me, I know the stories. I worked in a fetish shop for 6 years in Berlin, and I had a very good customer who was a urologist who told me the most incredible stories. So this education, it needs to take place. So a lot of the porno companies, they're seeing their responsibility there as well in informing people about how to try things. And it's become so holistic. There are so many companies out there nowadays who provide guided meditations on how to touch yourself, how to explore yourself. We have sexological body workers, which many people aren't aware of. For me, it's one of my favorite things to talk about because I always say we have doctors for our bodies, we have doctors for our brains. What happens with our souls? And so much of our soul is energy, and so much of this energy lives in sexuality. So sexological body workers, they help you tap into that. They help you if you've gone through something traumatic. A lot of women after birth, so much has happened and changed, they don't even know how to touch themselves. So sexological body workers, for example, exist to help you, to guide you, to say, I'm here for you. You don't have to do it on your own. So much is changing. We're only just at the beginning of this evolution.
Yeah, I really like the idea of transition from entertainment to educational content, more educational. I think it's a good way to go. But
Absolutely.
but still, like if you think a majority of people would go for Pornhub or other similar websites, how to make people actually want to choose more educational content, more edutainment? You said right?
Edutainment, yeah.
Edutainment, right?
I think a lot of it is probably going to happen through social media. I think it's a very, very slow trickling effect at the moment. And I think a lot of it is actually happening out of need. It's happening because people like me are looking for specific things on the internet. I mean, I make no secret of it. I went to so many doctors. 5, I said in my TED talk. I think it was more. But for sake of the TED talk being easy, I said 5. And so I Googled, wow, I went to the ends of the internet and back. I went to places I don't really want to ever go again, looking for solutions to my problem. And so I think many people, because there is still so much shame around the topic, they won't even talk to their partners or their best friends. So many people are navigating the internet. And whilst, of course, there is a lot of rubbish on there,
Yeah.
the companies who are providing something like edutainment, or the companies that offer courses, there are wonderful things nowadays where you can learn all about different aspects of sexuality and practices. They are targeting people exactly like that. But I feel it's still slow. I'm in a bubble. It's still progressing very, very slowly, and it needs more awareness from companies who are reluctant to do so, because a high gloss fashion magazine doesn't
Mhm.
want to talk about unsexy things like not wanting to have sex.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about like other people who right now are feel disconnected from their own themselves, like from their own body, what advice would you give them?
First of all, don't panic, because you can feel like an alien in your own body sometimes. And that's totally okay. Okay. And if you say it out loud in a big room, I guarantee 3 people will go, "Oh my God, I didn't know that somebody else felt this way as well." For me, I had to find all the answers myself. And whilst I believe everybody does need to find all the answers for themselves, because everybody is different and every body is different as well. Like,
Mhm.
where is it in your body that you're searching or missing? Is it trauma related? Then please seek help. Is it a body image issue? Also, seek help. If it's a body image issue, these are the kind of things where often just opening up to a professional in any way, shape, or form can help. If it's your sexuality, there are so many different things you can do. For me, one of the biggies, I put on a lot of weight in both pregnancies, not because I ate
Mhm.
so much, I just, the hormones, everything was
Yeah.
just wow. For me, it's a bit of a catch 22. So I didn't feel comfortable in my body. And so I didn't want to touch myself. But when I touched myself, I felt happy hormones. I felt
Mhm.
pleasure. And so I liked my body. So it's a bit of the cat biting its tail. And in my TED talk, this is just one example. Again, there are so many different things. You know, if it's your brain, for me, it was my brain. Read naughty
Mhm.
stuff, because sometimes just tricking your brain into thinking sexy stuff, it will help your body just, give you red cheeks and spark a little something wherever, possibly down there. But in my TED talk, I spoke about pleasure mapping. And pleasure mapping is something you can do either with your partner. I suggest, if it's your body that you're struggling with or looking to rediscover, do it on yourself first. I recommend that with absolutely anything that's sexual, because it's your body and you should know your body first. And pleasure mapping, I have to be careful I don't fall into my TED Talk script, because I had to learn it off by heart.
Yes.
It's it's literally making a map of your erogenous zones.
Mhm.
Now, that sounds kind of weird, and everybody would go, "Oh, wow, that's really easy. Like, I like my boobs being touched. I like my clit being played with. Easy, right?" Yeah, no, because we have so many other places on our body that we might not have discovered yet. So, pleasure mapping is as simple, and the secret, and I say simple on purpose because lots of people will
Mhm.
have a massive mind block. So I'm going to say it on purpose. It is simple. The simplest way to do it is to just take off all your
Hmm.
clothes, get under a blanket if it's cold, otherwise, lie on your bed, turn the lights on, turn the lights off, whatever makes you happy, and just start. And you can start at your feet, you can start at your head, you can start at your ears, wherever you feel like it, and don't overthink it. And then just start touching yourself. And the funniest thing is, every time I say this, people will go, "What do you mean just touch myself?" And that's the first block. And that's the
Mhm.
first hurdle. And that's
Mhm.
why don't overthink it. It's simple. Take your clothes off, lie down. You don't even need to take your clothes off if that's a hurdle, and then go for it. And
Yeah, can you
some
watch
people will
porn while
suddenly
doing this? Can you
I
watch porn while
wouldn't
doing this?
recommend it. I wouldn't recommend watching porn because you project. You end up either mirroring or projecting or thinking what they're doing is what you should be doing. And like with anything like meditation or yoga, it's about you. It's about you in that moment, being in your body in that moment. And sure, thoughts may come. You might go, I didn't do the washing. Oh, I have to still go and buy cat food. Those thoughts may come, and that's totally okay. But like with meditation, you go, cheers. Thanks for checking in. I will ignore you yet again, dear washing machine, because I'm busy right now. And that's kind of the whole approach to sexuality. And I'm the first to admit the first thing to go off my list of priorities is my sexuality. That is the absolute first thing.
Yeah,
Lisa,
makes sense.
can you say that masturbation is like a meditation?
Yes. And it's two M's, it's alliteration. So masturbation is
Yeah.
meditation. That rings true for an author like me. Absolutely. So masturbation, it's our first love, isn't it? Because ideally, we've touched
Yeah.
ourselves before somebody else touches us. So our primary relationship from the day we're born until the day we die is with ourselves. Now, if we're not okay with ourselves, if we don't love ourselves, I'm not going to do the cliche of then nobody can love us because oh my god, sometimes I don't love myself and I'm very grateful if somebody else loves me. But masturbation, it reconnects you every single time, and not just mind and body, which is already in our society one of the hardest things in life. People think going to the gym, sure, to a certain extent, but pleasure, sexuality, masturbation, that is connecting on a completely different level. And it's completely
Mhm.
different hormones that we experience in that moment. It's a completely different body feeling. I go to the gym, I do all these things, but it's something different. It's intimacy, it's understanding what we like and what we enjoy. And to a very large extent, it's empowerment because through masturbation, through pleasure mapping, through rediscovering what I like on a regular evolutionary basis throughout my life, it means I can communicate to my partner what I like. And with that comes great power because in every first encounter, or even if you've been with your partner for a long time, if I can say,
Mhm.
hey, I'd like you to, not only do I feel goddamn hot, but it helps my partner. And if we communicate with each other on that basis, then we connect faster. So, masturbation is absolutely essential in order to understand ourselves and to switch off. And with masturbation, I'm the first to say, listen to some audio porn, watch some porn, read some porn, get into the mood. And I think everybody knows if it's not an obsessive or an addictive or, something that's just become a habit because it gets tricky if something's just become a do it to release pressure kind of
Mhm.
act, that becomes more complicated. But if it's not that, watch something, let yourself be inspired, and just drift off for a little bit and allow your body to recalibrate in pleasure.
Yeah, and Lisa, do you think masturbation is medication for both men and women?
Well, I mean, that is also the point of, as long as it doesn't become an act to feel something, that I feel is difficult. And nowadays with toys like, for a woman, a clit suction toy where you can very easily, very quickly reach orgasm, or for men, if it's a perfunctory act, if it's something you've had a long day, you need to release pressure and you, excuse me, just whip one out. I think it can be very healing, but the secret is in the mindfulness. So, for what reasons are you doing it? And sure, whip one out every now and then to get that quick rush and to get that high. But masturbation, for me at least, is about taking a moment for myself. And I think we forget to do that. We take a moment for ourselves in terms of going for a coffee, going for a walk, meditating, writing in a
Yeah.
journal, going out with friends. But we don't so often take a moment for our sexuality. And so, yes, it's meditation, it's medication. I mean, they all start with an M, so it must be real, it must be true. And in terms of men and women, I sometimes I feel sorry for men because everything that is coming out now about sexuality seems so aimed at women. And it's okay because, for decades and decades and all throughout history, women have been, on the side bench waiting to be put in, and coach has not let them in. But I think men profit too from everything that's happening at the moment. And that men can also say, I don't know how to do this, because there are just so many expectations of men of what they should, and
Yeah.
you need to do all these things because you're a man, and why don't you know this? And I think this awareness is growing that, oh my God, we are all humans, we don't all have the answers, and men and women, we are humans, and sexuality can be beautiful between humans, and masturbation and mutual masturbation and watching your partner masturbate. So men profit just as much from everything that's happening at the moment, and I hope that men don't feel left out. I know for a fact many men that I talk to, they're so
Yeah.
grateful that women are talking about all these beautiful facets of our sexuality and all the wonderful things we can do, because then men see, okay, that those 80s porns, that's not where we're going with all of this, and it doesn't have to be in out, shake it all about, and we're finished. So I think there is a lot to be had for men and women mutually in just exploring such a massive part of being a human.
Yeah. Just one thing to add. I agree with you on this topic, but also I was trying to find some information, like some defined information regarding masturbation for men, and I couldn't find anything like whether it's 100% wrong or 100% good for you. From one point, it's like masturbating for men, like when he is doing it alone, it's like releasing his inner vital energy. So in this case, it might be maybe not the best thing to do. But yeah, I understand when it's being done with partner, like mutual masturbation, it's a beautiful thing. But I'm not sure about doing it alone.
You know, I think there is just still too much shame around that as well.
Mm,
I think there is just too much shame of all the movies where the 16-year-old boy is masturbating in his room and his parents catch him, and it is like the world ending. My goodness. My goodness. Why? I mean, so there is just this inherent shame for men that what they're doing is wrong. But why? I mean, we're not doing anything different as women just because
yeah.
our bits look different, just because we rub it differently. There are so many wonderful things for men to explore as well. There is Tantra, for example. There are other parts of men's body that can be touched and explored. we're still in this stuck way of believing that sex is penis in vagina until orgasm. We are so stuck in that. And the quicker we become unstuck, the quicker men will also realize that it's not terrible to masturbate. On the contrary, it's really good for your prostate. Please keep doing it. Otherwise, it's not healthy, you know? But in the same way, men, please touch yourselves so that we can find out where you like to be touched. Explore yourselves in exactly the same way as us women do it. Because if you can tell us, hey, you know, I actually really like my butt being touched. You know what? I like you chewing on my earlobe. The more you explore yourselves and communicate with us, the more we understand. And, you know, I talk about men and women. I'm very inclusive. I'm bisexual. So men, women, whatever. I'm just using it for ease of our conversation.
Mhm.
But the sooner a person understands where they like to be touched, the better. And that can only happen through self-exploration. And there is zero shame in touching our bodies, because at the end of the day, it's my body. And if I don't understand my body, how can I expect someone else to do it? So,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, actually, like having this feedback session, conversation after sex is like it's a life changing thing for me actually, because in my ex relationship, I wasn't really doing this, and when you have this feedback session, it gets easier to understand your partner, and each next sex it's way better and way better. It's so amazing when you can just tell what you want, how do you like it, and yeah, being heard.
and that opens so many doors for you, because we talk about everything. We talk about what we want for dinner. We talk about where are we going to go on holiday. We talk about all these things. But why can't we just sit down and say, you know what? I've been thinking about us having kinky sex. Now, you know, there are different ways to approach all sorts of topics. Whatever it might be, whatever fantasy might be ruminating in your head at any given moment, the sooner you open conversations to these things. So, my goodness, maybe they don't want to check out spanking, okay? But by opening that door, what are you going to achieve if you don't? What are you going to achieve if you keep wishing, I wish my partner would just give me a good old smack on the butt, right?
Yeah.
Where are you going to go if you never say it? Because what if your partner the whole time is staring at your butt going, oh my God, I want to spank it so much. And they don't dare to do it. So all of this open communication, it translates into every area of your life. And it should be there. And if you sit down for coffee, maybe not if you have kids, unless they're older, but when you sit down for breakfast in the morning, and if you saw something amazing, maybe then you just say, darling, I saw something really cool in a porn that I was watching, and I'd love it if we could maybe watch it together. Or one of my favorite tricks is, oh, so my friend, Letitia, let's call her, she
Uh-huh.
told me that she had anal sex with her partner. And then you wait 21, 22, 23. And then the reaction your partner will give you some kind of indication whether that's a topic they might want to explore. So, you know, there are card games nowadays, or
Yeah.
just say it, because otherwise it will be a regret, it will be resent. And who knows, maybe your partner has something and they'll go looking somewhere else. And if the communication is not there, then what good is it going to give you?
Yeah, what if your partner is quite shy to go beyond this traditional sex and explore this different ways to express yourself sexually?
Yeah, that happens. Of course, it happens. And there's no harm in that. I think open communication is the most important thing. So if your partner until now has had, you know, what is classified as vanilla sex, I don't know, I think that's a ridiculous explanation or description for it. But if there's something that you might want to explore, of course, be careful with how you address it, be careful what you say. Now, if your partner is shy for other reasons, there are always so many factors that play into it. You know, how were they raised? What kind of sexual relationships were they having before? We need to be sensitive in any case of everybody's feelings, why they might not have explored something. But if it's something where this shy partner says, you know, I'd like to, but I'm having difficulties, then take it slow. You know, then maybe going to a sex club isn't really the best thing to start with, or, you know, whipping out the anal beads. Maybe don't go with that, but maybe say, um, for an example of, let's take anal because it's just like an omnipresent theme for so many people. The shy partner should explore themselves first. Before anything happens, that shy partner needs to figure it out for themselves. Or if it's something like spanking, visit a shop, seek professionals. If you visit a sex shop as a couple, you instantly have the dynamic of we are together as a couple, and it's not one person wanting spanking and the other not wanting spanking. It's the two of you and the person in the shop. And the person in the shop can give you professional advice. And so by shifting dynamic, you're out of that pressure situation. And best case, you giggle about it, or perhaps even better, you end up buying something or saying, okay, well, maybe let's give it some time. But everybody evolves at a different pace. And we need to be weary of other people's feelings, and we need to be patient. Sometimes maybe people want to mull it over. Maybe the shy partner needs to figure out their past, their situation, their relationship to sexuality. But sex evolves. Like I said, I mean, like I had sex for the first time when I was 16. And if I think back on all my sexual relationships, honestly, the one thing that has always been recurrent and the one thing I thrive to have in my sexual relationships is fun. I
Mhm.
just have fun.
Fun.
And if you're having fun, then you're free to giggle if it feels weird. You're free to say, like, whoa, okay, no, thank you. That's where it stops. But if you're having fun, then boundaries will be kept and communication will be open.
Uh, Lisa, but does it mean always to have orgasm if the goal is to have fun? But I think for many people it's not possible to have orgasm all the time. Am I right?
Ugh, oh my God. See, this is exactly the what people learn. It's just this 3-course menu, and
Yeah.
the sooner we steer away from that and realize that it is an all-inclusive buffet, the better. So, and there is zero shame in saying, you know, I didn't come, but I had lots of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a really nice time. And it's also totally okay to say, listen, I kind of like to finish myself, or to say, I'd like you to do this right now, but I'm not going to orgasm, but I'd really like to change things. Orgasms, if it's not, I have a story in my book about orgasm difficulties actually, and it ends up in an orgy amongst 5 or 6 women, and one of them has their period, and she's never had an orgasm in her life, and she describes it as it's like getting a hot chocolate on a warm day. On a cold day, not a warm day. It's like having a nice hot chocolate on a really cold day. That's what
Mm-hmm.
what she imagines an orgasm to be, because she's never had one. And whilst lots of people will go, you know, that hot chocolate, it's not that great, you know, but what if it is? So for a lot of people, this pressure of having an orgasm means they probably won't, because the pressure is so large.
Yeah.
So don't make orgasm the goal, make fun the goal, make exploration, because the sooner you let go of that weird obsession with first we have foreplay so that I'm wet and that you're hard, and then we have penetrative sex, and then we both orgasm,
To-do
and then
list.
we lie there. Yeah. Or then I have to get up and I have to go and sit over the toilet for a couple of minutes and do a weird waddle to the bathroom, or you have to take off a condom and it's super unsexy. All these things, oh my goodness, like orgasm is not the goal. Please, can we stop making it the goal? And please, can we just have some fun? So, yeah, no, orgasm is not the goal. But in my story, she does end up having an orgasm, but she has like a mind block before. And yeah, but it's not the goal. It's not the goal.
Uh, Lisa, and I have one question about sex toys. Can it, like, if you use it frequently, if you use them most of the time, so you don't do manual masturbation, but you use toys, and they are usually very intense, can it be later that it's difficult for you to get a usual orgasm just by doing it by hands or with a partner? Because from my experiments, I felt that yeah, it can be after using sex toys, and from what I heard on the internet, that it's kind of your body got used to this intense pressure, and then it's difficult to get like a lower pressure and to get like orgasm from lower pressure.
Mm, Good question. While I don't think physically, because like your vagina doesn't remember vibrations, and then if you put
Mhm.
something different in there, go, oh my God, this is like that, the vibration that I'm used to. And your clit doesn't either. I don't believe that there is a desensitization in that sense. I do believe there is a disconnect in the mind, because it's like I said with men and masturbation, if you're doing it just as a perfunctory act to release pressure,
Mhm.
then toys, if you are not connecting mentally, they're just a tool. It's like instead of screwing a screw into the wall with a screwdriver and putting in that hot sweat and muscle power, you're using an electric screwdriver and it goes Nyam, and finished. And so you miss all of that. Okay, like cavewoman style, I'm having to actually physically engage with my body. And yeah, I love toys. I
Mhm.
love toys playing together. I love toys alone. I love toys for a quick fix sometimes too. I think it's totally legit to say, I got 10 minutes. I just need a quick hormone oxytocin hit. That's also okay. But yes, I would be very careful with using them on a very regular basis without being mindful, because sexuality is about mindfulness. And if you're just using it to whip one out, then I do feel you might lose touch with your body. And if you're then with another person, it might not feel the same for that reason.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answer. I think it's just very important for many people, especially there are so many single people who just use single toys, single, like, who use
Yeah.
sex toys just to make single life um, more interesting and juicier. Um, yeah, and just a bit different comment regarding like erotic industry and so on. So recently, I have found one page and it sells and it shows erotic art, like uh, erotic paintings or erotic color books that you can do it on your own. You can order it and then you can color that. And I think for people who love visually, it's just an amazing option because I was watching that and I was thinking, yeah, it would be such an amazing present, not like to listen to, not to read, but just to draw it, like to paint it.
Absolutely. I love visual porn in the broadest sense of the world. I particularly love art. I think there is so much beauty back to, when we still had oil paintings and women were just depicted so more realistically than the past decades. We are slowly moving towards more realistic depictions of women again and body positive images. And staring at a picture of nude, semi-nude, anything like that, it allows us to just let our mind soar a moment. I always feel it's a bit like looking at the sea. It levels out the planes a little. And I've seen those coloring books as well. And it combines the aspect of mindfulness, because coloring is fantastic for mindfulness and it's a form of meditation. I have 2 kids. I know how great coloring can be. Um, and simultaneously, I would dare to say that it perhaps even allows our fantasies that we keep under wraps, or that we push down every day because of the mundane ins and outs of life. If we see something depicted in those pictures, it might allow us, while we're coloring, to bring that up to the surface and consider it for a moment. So definitely go buy those naughty coloring books for all your girlfriends, all your friends. I think it's
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful.
Christmas gifts are coming. Well, maybe not even Christmas gifts, but next holiday gifts.
Absolutely. Brilliant. I love it. Yeah, there's good stuff out there nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah. And Lisa, how not to make sex or masturbation addictive? Like, where's the line?
Um, so first of all, if people aren't aware of it, there are sex therapists. That is an actual profession. It exists. And if something like a sex addiction is something your mind has stumbled over, please seek help. Sex addiction, whilst I am not a sex therapist, for me is the idea that it inhibits your daily life. So you are seeking to masturbate, fornicate, anything of the sort on such a regular basis that it stops you working properly, it stops you interacting with friends, with family in a normal fashion. It's costing you money. It's
Hmm.
very much like a normal addiction. That sounds wrong. You know what I mean? It's like an addiction of any other sort. If it is stopping you from having a routine life, then that is something where you should just seek help. And it's the same with fantasies. Nowadays, there are also hotlines you can call, there are places
Yeah.
you can go. If you think your thoughts are intrusive regarding sexuality, there are people that can help. It really is. It's not appreciated enough. That's why I speak with so many people on Instagram as well in my lives, just about all the possibilities we have nowadays to seek help in terms of our sexuality.
Yeah. Thank you for answering.
Lisa, I want to go back to the topic of having no desire after giving a birth of 2 kids. And as you also use TikTok, you probably saw this extreme trend when women don't want to have children and they create their lists. Why not to have children? No? Yeah, you know.
I've
Yeah.
not seen it. I've not seen it, but I can imagine.
Yeah, so for example, there is a video with a mom and a kid, and the kid is not behaving or screaming, and then they comment, "Yeah, we need this lady who adds her reasons why not to have kids," and I think this is an extremely huge topic why woman decides I don't want to have kids because it ruins my sexual life, it ruins my body, it ruins my previous life, how I was fun, how I had interest to life. Now I need to devote my life to somebody else. And as you already went through this huge experience and not once, is there any way to kind of not just fully avoid, but at least to limit as much as possible all the problems you have in your sexual life after giving a birth?
Mm. I have not seen those TikToks. I have to admit, I don't have time for TikTok. But I have to say, it's not a bad thing that those kind of videos are starting to exist, because unfortunately, well, I'm going to say probably for reasons, or I could blame the patriarchy, but we have grown up thinking that getting married, having children is the goal in life.
Mhm.
It's also, we're still a little stuck in it, and things are changing, but that has been the extreme for many, 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 many decades. And so I think that the other extreme is slowly cropping up everywhere is very important until we find our medium. It's like with the labels. At some point, everybody will just exist and decide whether they want to have kids or don't want to have kids for whatever reasons, to want to have kids or not want to have kids. Where I really struggled was that, again, no one prepared me. So for somebody who is considering children, there isn't a list that you can check off to see, am I okay to have kids? I would suggest, and I'm gonna go out on a limb now and not give lots of tips, but give a couple of warning signs. Don't have kids to save a relationship. Number one, don't. Get a dog or a goldfish, but don't have a kid because you think it's going to save your relationship. That's number one. Be sure to know that the parent you think you're going to be, you're not going to be. Because when you become a parent, you are in the middle of a storm, and honestly, you're just trying to survive. So, for that beginning phase, it already starts in pregnancy. I wish someone had said to me, keep an eye on your relationship. Don't get so wrapped up in the pregnancy. Yes, you're going to have a kid. You're going to be parents. But start having conversations already about how are we going to do it? How are we going to stay partners, husband, wife, girlfriend, however, when we have a kid? And that is stupid logistical stuff like, can we find a babysitter? Can we afford a babysitter? Can we talk to friends? First and foremost, how are we going to keep our relationship alive? And if you're not discussing that beforehand, trust me, when you are sleep deprived and your body is just, especially the women, it's just like, what just happened to me? Like it is too much. You're not going to be worrying about how we're going to keep our relationship alive. Second of all, the women. Your body is going to change, right? Major, minor, one way or another, your body is going to change. If you are struggling too much with your body, talk to someone. If the gynecologist doesn't help, talk to a different gynecologist. Because unfortunately, you get brushed off after 6 weeks with, yeah, so is everything good? All right, good. Do you want some contraception? Yeah, you're good to go. You can go and have sex again. That's what happens, no matter whether you've been deeply traumatized by a birth or not. So seek help for your mental health. If it was traumatic, I almost died during the birth of our second child. That's a lot of
God.
trauma. Our child almost died during the birth of her. It's a lot of trauma, and if you neglect that, you're not really helping yourself or anybody else. The same goes for your body. So best case, everything went fine and you heal and it wasn't dramatic, but your body might have changed. Like you might have put on weight, you might have ripped, you might be scared to look at your vulva. Please, for the love of God, look at your vulva, touch your vulva. And this is my biggest tip to all women. Thank your body for making a baby for 10 months, carrying a baby, birthing a baby in whatever shape or form. Thank your body. Don't just say, oh, I put on 40 kilos. Oh, I've got water in my legs. Oh, I ripped all the way from my vulva to my perineum. For the love of God, thank yourself, because holy guacamole, you made a kid. Like that is big. So after everything, make sure you're checking in on yourself. Make sure you're checking in on your relationship. And that can feel impossible at times because you're literally trying to keep a baby alive, which is like no small feat. And stay open in your communication. Just try to be open and honest with each other. And if it's too much and if you're struggling, reach out. So I don't think you can ever really prepare because you have no idea what's going to happen. So prepare for the unprepared and have love, have faith, have hope, talk to each other, cuddle each other. And when that little crying, pooping, puking thing comes out, you'll be so overwhelmed with love that, like, for the beginning, you can't see or think straight anyway.
I will start with a dog, I think.
Yeah, dogs are a great preparation. They really, really are. It's showing up and being accountable for another human life. And even in a relationship, if you have a dog, that already comes with so much responsibility. And are you getting up to
Yeah.
take the dog out, or am I? And if you're arguing over who takes the dog out in the morning, then, that's another conversation to have. Oh, and one more thing that,
Mhm.
I don't think it would make being a parent easier. I don't think it's a guarantee, but I do think looking back on your own childhood, because having a child, it brings out your inner child and it brings out everything you went through as a child. And, what ideals was I brought up with? How was I brought up? What kind of relationship do I have with my parents? Because honestly, when they're a baby, it's actually quite easy. I know no mum with a newborn wants to hear that, but the older they get, it gets harder because you kind of see a small version of yourself, even though I'm the first to say, like, my children are nothing like me and everything like me and nothing like my husband and everything like my husband. These small people, they'll have their own small problems. And that's where it's not just cleaning a nappy. That's where you're confronted with, how was I raised? How would I like to raise my child? So, nowadays there is more holistic approaches to working on our trauma and working on our childhood and our values and our ideals. So possibly have a little bit of a dip, a little bit of a scratch of the surface and see what ugly monster rears its head.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I absolutely think that it's like normal to have zero desire to have a child, but for those like who wants to have kids, I have this biological need from out of nowhere, and I know just in deep in myself that I want to have kids. But after watching, observing everything, especially like in TikTok, all the information when women share their labor experience, what happened after, like then they then couldn't move, like were laying in bed for months. I'm like, oh my God, why does my body want that?
But the thing is, anything can happen in life that leaves you
Yeah.
feeling helpless, that leaves you feeling overwhelmed. So I've wanted children from the age of 13. I was
Wow.
born ready and wanting to be a mum. And I still, my children are family. They are everything to me. They are a family I didn't have when I was younger. They are these incredible two human beings that I am so lucky to know and love, that I would do anything for them. And to feel a love that deep, I would do anything. And so yes, I was really fortunate. Our oldest, he was born in 2 hours. Our youngest was born in 10 minutes. Yeah, I was standing and she fell out. It was a bit of a whoopsie. So birth experiences can be so radically different, but my gynecologist said to me before the birth of our second, she said, they all come out in the end. And while I hated her at the time for telling me that, while I was 2 weeks overdue and I really just wanted the kid out, because your body naturally says to you at some point, get the hell out. Your rent is overdue. I want my body back, Anything can happen in life that will leave you feeling that feeling. But the beauty of it is after birth, you actually have this tiny little human being lying in your arms, giving you all the feels, and everything they do is magic. Oh, look, it opened its eyes. Look, it's got poop coming out of its butt and it's squirting in my hair. Everything is magical. And so you just think, okay, they cut me open. Who cares? So, I believe a lot is in our minds, and we possess a lot of power to help ourselves. And even if the birth ends up being really difficult, so many things in life can be really, really difficult. But then
Yeah.
you have this
Yeah,
beautiful
true.
little human being in your arms.
I
Yeah,
love how we switched from porn to having children.
well, it's
Oh,
related.
it's all interrelated. Oh, exactly. And it's a fun journey actually making them. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the most important thing is to have a joy from making them.
yeah. Yeah.
it's
It went
true.
really quick with us, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guys.
Just,
I just want to say, sorry, I'm 28 right now, and I was asking myself this question: do I want to have kids in the future or not? And I can't answer still. Like, it seems like I would be a good father. I honestly believe that I would be a good father, but I don't have like answer why I would need kids. Maybe I should be guided by this paternal instinct, or I don't know. But lately, I was watching one interview. A young guy was interviewing people who were 60, 70, 80, even 95, and asking what are the biggest regrets. So one of them were dedicating more time to their family and actually building this family, because it gives you kind of this feeling of community, small community. So probably when you get older, it's very valuable to have like people around you, because if you read even this book like Ikigai, right, what brings the most of the happiness is your small community that you spend time with.
and I feel we've lost that nowadays. I feel like through gentrification, through all the opportunities that we have as young people, we can travel the world, we can fall in love with someone on the other side of our earth and just leave our family, just go and leave and live with that person and build new bridges over there. I feel we've lost our community, our sense of having a tribe around us. I certainly did. We certainly did. When we became parents, we had zero help. We just lost it all. I grew up in Portugal. My mum was away. Luckily, she then moved as well. So we've lost that idea of community. And whether it's through social media, digitalization, we lose it more and more every day. And having a family, it reintroduces that. And funnily enough, actually, in the new book I'm writing at the moment,
Oh.
I Yes, I'm very excited at the moment. I'm really flowing. I talk about breaking generational cycles a lot, and in different shapes and forms. I talk about things like female rage and women and our role in society, our role in communities, our role in careers, and how when we have family, when we have a child, we have the opportunity to change things that possibly while we were growing up, we didn't enjoy. And so I teach my daughter to assert herself, to be somebody who is focused on and not to withdraw into the shadows. And I think a paternal instinct, if you already feel that, that is a longing. In Brazil, you say saudade. It's longing for something you don't know yet. It's something that will probably turn up when you least expect it, possibly when you find the right partner. So I think these are the kind of questions, whilst they're great to ask ourselves this, I think sometimes life will answer it for you. And I know when my husband met me, he said, "You're the mother of my children."
Wow.
Really?
And, you know, yeah.
Wow.
And so sometimes maybe, you know, life takes a decision. I'm a big fan of just having faith in life, and you know, manifestation is nothing other than you saying, I don't know whether I want to, but I feel this instinct, and who knows, maybe somebody will cross your path who feels exactly that. And yes, the regret of not spending enough time with your family, see, that for me is something I never want to have, that regret. And that is something that you actively work on. And that is also breaking generational trauma, because our parents back in the days, normally the men worked and the fathers weren't there. And so that's something where, for example, in our family, we proactively engage with. And my husband wants to be very present for our children. So that again will change how perhaps our children feel about having children if the parents were actually there. So
Yeah.
listen to your inner voice.
Yeah, hopefully the new generation will be more educated about the whole concept of relationship, sexuality, and how to actually communicate with each other in an efficient way.
Absolutely. And then hopefully just really embrace the idea of community. Don't sit around on your phones, talk to each other, engage, go out, see the world, do things together. And, you know, I always say to my children, oh, I really want to be a grandma for your children one day. And I'd love to be the person where you say, wow, I really just need an evening with my partner. Mom, can you take the kid or the kids or whatever? I want to be able
Mhm.
to provide that, you know. I still want to be
Yeah.
me, and I want to be me in my relationship, but I want to enable my children to have what I also didn't have. And if that happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But the wish is there, and the idea of community needs to be revisited in our society.
Yeah, definitely.
Lisa, and you know, like men and women, we have so many things in common, but at the same time, sometimes we are like total strangers. And in your experience, what message would you give to women to understand men better? And opposite, what message would you give to women to men to understand women better?
I think if I knew that, I would be rich because I would sell it in bottles. You know, I'm being bisexual. I know what it's like to love a woman. I know what it's like to love a man. And I can honestly tell you that loving the same gender is not easier, right? It's really not easier, because at the end of the day, we're all people with our quirks, with our habits. We change. We don't essentially change in our souls, but we develop mannerisms. We like things, we don't like things. I think regardless of gender, we need to stay open to how we evolve. And yes, you know, men like their lives in certain ways, but maybe only because they've been taught that. So
Yeah.
in the same way, men and women, stay open to maybe something that your partner is doing is actually really cool. Maybe coming home from work and just lying on the couch and drinking a beer and pizza, if we're going to go into absolute gender cliches right now, and scratching your balls. Maybe that's cooler than coming home and doing the washing and cooking fancy risotto. You know, so I think we can all profit from each other and learn from each other. And I don't think there's a secret tip, and just be respectful and mindful and understanding, and also say if something pisses you off, then just say it. I think we tiptoe around each other in relationships so frequently, and it just snowballs and it kicks us up the arse at the end of the day. I'm an Aries, I'm an absolute fire sign. And if I see something, I'll say it. And I've had to learn how to tame myself and be patient and maybe sit on something for a day or two. But I don't think there's a secret. And yes, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Yes, it's a good book, but talk to your partner, engage with your partner, understand what they like, what they need, where their boundaries are, and just be aware that every person is different.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry,
exactly.
probably not the
beautiful-
answer you were looking for.
No,
Makes sense. Yeah, everyone's
it
different.
makes lots of sense. Yeah. We're just humans, not just to divide
Exactly.
man, woman, but just a human personality.
Exactly.
We have our own uniqueness, and that's normal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Lisa, where to find all the information about you? Can you share with our listeners?
Absolutely. So my Instagram handle is please pinch me hard. And I think the greatest thing about my Instagram actually is my lives, where I speak to people who work in the industry, and also my stories, because I like to share a lot about mental health, about I'm very erratic. I sometimes share and I sometimes don't. So there's no rhyme or reason to what I do. And I also share a lot of visual things that are beautiful. I share a lot of sex tips, advice, all those sorts of things. So I love my Instagram as just like something in between. I mean, for mums, like they open their Instagram and they see, at age 3 months, your child should be achieving these milestones, or to make sure your baby sleeps through the night. I don't know what kind of things you get when you open your Instagram, but like when I open my Instagram, I get like two women with fingers up each other or something ridiculous like that. Or, I don't know. I can't open my Instagram in public, but like it's refreshing to have other stuff in your feed. So that's what my
Yeah.
Instagram and my stories are for. And otherwise, you can find my webpage also on pleasepinchmehard.com. And on my webpage, I have a massive array of short stories. So you can get a taste for how I write, what I write. And that is then obviously the lead into my actual book, which is Give It to Me, which you can get as an ebook, you can get in print, and you can find it on Spotify, and it is read by me. So you'll have my voice saying lots of naughty words. And also, I have lots of blog posts. I have how-tos on my webpage. And what else do I have? Oh my goodness. On
You
my
have your
webpage, there is
podcast.
everything you need to know. Yes,
Yeah,
and there's
amazing,
also my
amazing.
podcast, which is and that is created out of my Instagram lives that I do. So whoever wants to see me talking to somebody live can do so on Instagram, and otherwise it's on my podcast, which is Deep and Dirty, and there it's the Instagram live with a transcript, etc., as a podcast. And they're normally short. They're anything between a half hour and an hour. So it's literally, if you don't know what to do, listen to 30 minutes of me talking about naughty things with other people who like to talk about naughty things.
Perfect.
Perfect, amazing.
I think it sometimes is definitely healthier to listen to some naughty things rather than some business things that just will brainwash you instead of relaxing you.
I like to I have this metaphor about our sexuality. What you plant will grow. So if you've not been thinking about it a lot, you're not going to be able to pick any flowers. You're not going to have anything in that garden of lust in your head. So yes, instead of listening to an hour of how to improve your SEO on your webpage, maybe listen to me talk about two women having kinky sex for
Yes.
45 minutes or so.
Great.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Dmitra got blushed.
Yeah, you see, I'm getting
Yeah,
red.
but that's the beauty. But that's what's so wonderful about all these different forms of porn. You can do it in the intimacy of your own home. I've had people tell me, Lisa, I got in my car and I was down in the garage, and the evening before I'd had your audiobook on, and I had it on really loud, and then I switched it off. And in the morning, I got in my car and I switched my car on. And the first thing that blasted through the entire garage, where there were like people, families getting their children ready, was Delicate Desires, anal sex. And they're like, oh my God. So maybe put headphones on, and then it's a bit more intimate. And that's why I have an ebook, so that you don't have to hold it in public, So I've tried to arrange for everybody to feel comfortable and blush in the comfort of their own home.
I'm sure people who had listened to that audio by coincidence, they got jealous.
Really? Probably. They probably walked up to them and say, hey, what are you listening to? Child, shush, shush, shush. Yeah.
Yeah,
Be
cool.
inspired. We never stop learning. And by listening to new things and listening to new types of things, who knows? Maybe you'll be inspired to try something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually never try listening to like porno. Just I've never tried it. Maybe it's a life-changing experience. I don't know.
If you never try, you'll never know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like pizza.
Yeah. Lisa, you're amazing.
Thank you.
We opened so many amazing things today in our conversation. Thank you for everything you do. It's just so valuable. It's so beautiful. It's gorgeous and it's important.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for giving me this space.
A lot.
Thank you. Go out there and explore yourselves,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I will. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay updated with our future content and support what we are doing, don't forget to give it a thumb up, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest episode.